This week we have a double Parsha Tazria Mitzorah. Let's talk maybe about the first few psukim in the beginning of Parsha Tazria. I think there's a couple of minhagim that we do in our daily lives, and we don't really always know what the sources for these minhagim are. I think when you see how perhaps it ties back to psukim and chazal, I think it makes it more meaningful. We have, at the end of last week's parsha, we have the laws of kashrut, which animals are kosher. We finished off, lahavdil ben atameh, ben atahor, ben achaya, ben acheles, ben achaya, she'en achel. We spoke about that last week, correct. And then we start off this week. It says, Vaydaber Shem Moshe Lemor, Daber b'nei Yisrael Lemor, speak to the b'nei Yisrael, saying, Isha ki sazria v'yolda zachar, when a woman conceives and gives birth, so if it's a male child, v'tama shivas yamim, so she should be tme'ah. She's considered tme'ah, she's prohibited to her husband, not allowed to have relations with her husband, she's not allowed to eat korbanot, go to the base of mikdash. Kimei nidas devosa titma. The 7 days are going to be the same as the 7 days that she separates from her husband when she is a nida, when she's a menstruant, even though it's really not the same. I mean, she's just had a baby, then she's a nida. Chazal say that when nida says ein psichas kever v'lo dam, that it's not possible for the womb to be open without some dam having come out. So therefore, she's also tmeya for 7 days. And then it says uvayom hashmini, on the 8th day, yimol besar orloso, that this boy has bris milah. If it's a girl, one second. So now the 8 days. Just interesting question. When it said the 7 days, whose 7 days was it talking about? The mother. When it says of Yom Hashmini, whose 8th day is it talking about? The baby. It's interesting because it doesn't read that way, because it's mashma on the 8th day of the mother, you're now doing the bris milah for the boy, even though it's the 8th day of the boy, not the 8th day of the mother. So we have to see there's maybe a connection over that's connecting to her 7 days of tumah to the 8th day of the boy having brit milah. Shloshim yom shloshes yomim. Then there is a 33 day period. These are all from the psukim. Chazal and the way we do things today we'll see somewhat differently. But there's 33 days now after the 7 days that she's tmeah. She has for sure, after childbirth for a boy, 7 days for sure tmeah. And then there's a 33-day period, Teishev b'dmei tahara. It's fascinating that even if there is dam, the dam is considered dam tohar. It's not considered to be tmeah. So the 33 days that a woman, and generally after birth, she's going to experience some dam. Nevertheless, she's allowed to have relations with her husband during those 33 days. She's just not allowed to go to the Beis HaMikdash. She's not allowed to eat korbanot, right? B'chol kodesh lo siga, v'la mikdash lo savo. Can't approach, consume holy foods. She's not allowed to go to the Beis HaMikdash. Ad melos yemei tara, until she completes the process, which is 40 days. On day 41, she will bring a korban and she can now eat from those korbanos. So that's the period. There's 7 days of tumah, 33 days of tahara. 40th day it completes. She goes to the mikvah on the day 41. She brings her korbanos, and now she brings korbanos for her childbirth. It's the korbanos she brings. Actually, one of them is interesting. Is she brings a guilt offering, and according to one of the Tanoim, the reason she builds is because it says every woman, while they're having childbirth, makes an oath they're never going to have relations with her husband again. So she needs to bring a guilt offering for the shvuah that she made. That because she's not going to keep that shvuah. But anyway, so the point is that's the for a boy. Im nekeva seleit. If on the other hand she gives birth to a girl, v'tam shvuayim kenidoso. There she has to wait a 2-week period, right? Of 14 days of tumah, v'shishim yom v'sheshes yomim, and then another 66 days, teshev al dmei tahara. She's now, so on the one hand, up front it hurts because 14 days she can't have relations, but on the other hand, next 66 days, even if she's seeing dam, she's allowed to have relations with her husband. And then, uviyamos, when it completes, yemei tahara, if it's leven or levas, where it's the 40th day for the ben, or the 80th day for the bas, tavi, then she brings kevas ben shnasa la'ola, ben yona osor lechatas, el bezagom, she brings a chatas, not an ash, she brings a sin offering, consumes for the shvuah. Okay. So, let's address a couple of the things here. First of all, Rashi explains the juxtaposition. We're talking about what's holy and how to become holy in terms of for the animals, right? The animals, if they're kosher, you shech them, it elevates it. That's the holy foods, and talks about the animals. And then it talks about human beings. So Rashi says, Amarav Simloi, Kashem shetzirato shel Adam achar kol behema, just as man was created on day 6, after the animals were created in the order of creation. So chayav achar yitzirato shel kol behema, the chayav of in Ma'aser Bereishis, kach toras and ispareshes achar toras behema chayav of. So what Rashi is saying is, because you would think, let's talk about what the laws of makes a man tahor and a man tummy, talk about that first. So, no, the animals were mentioned first, and the Gemara actually says it a step even stronger. It says that anytime a man becomes arrogant, you should remember that afilu yatush, even the mosquito, was created before he was created. Right? So, it goes, therefore, it talks about kashrus. It talks about the tumah of leida, which is similar to nido. It talks about bris milah. It's the connection. Now, why 8 days? So, the Gemara gives a reason, and the Medrash gives a different reason. Let's talk about both reasons, because I think both of them have interesting insights. The Gemara says the reason is because since the husband and wife cannot resume relations until the 7 days of Leida are completed, so they only be able to start having relations on day 8. So he says, so you don't want to have a big celebration celebrating the bris, and the husband and wife are upset because they can't have relations. So the Torah waited until the 8th day to do the bris milah, that everybody should be happy. That's the reason that's given. Now, in terms of nowadays, Minat Torah, there is the laws of Nidah. The laws of Nidah, really, Minat Torah, is that if a woman, during certain times of the month, has dam, she's really only tamei 7 days. As long as at the end of the 7th day, she's able to make a hefsek tahara, day 8, the night after day 7, she's mutter to return to her husband. Now we know we don't do that. That's not how we do it. Well, we have to have 7 clean days. Right? That's a much bigger headache. I mean, the way it's done on the Torah is you can have dam all the way up to day 6. Right? Because there is another parsha in the Torah that's known as the Zava. Zava is that there's 11 days in the month of woman's cycle that the dam she sees is not considered to be dam nidah. It's called dam zava, and that dam, that's dam ziva. It's a different type of tumah associated. That if she has dam 3 days in a row during those 11 days, she has to keep 7 clean days. She's considered to be a zava. But Chazal instituted, because it's very hard to calculate which days are which in terms of every independent cycle, so they basically gave the status that we deal with everybody as if they're a zava. So therefore they both nidah and zava, right? So therefore we count the 5 days. There's 5 days that are counted, and then they need to as a nidah, and then they then need 7 clean days. You have to have 7 clean days in case she is a zava, so you fulfilled that requirement, which is it's a big chumrah, tremendous. It says that the women accepted it upon themselves. And when it says that, it talks about the women accepted this upon themselves because of their high level of purity, so that there should not even be a chashash. Think about it. You have to, even any dam during that 7 days knocks off the 7 days, and you've got to start counting the 7 days again. So it's a tremendous chumrah. But minat Torah, 7 days, mutter to the husband. So they're upset, can't have relations. 8th day. So I saw Rabbi Fran brings down a vort from Rabbi Mordechai Epstein. That was to be the Rosh Yeshiva in Slobodka. He says, you see the unbelievable sensitivities of the Torah. Right? It's about the boy celebrating. But the Torah didn't want that there should be all this celebration going on, and that the parents should have some level of frustration, some level of sadness. So that sensitivity pushes off that the bris should be on the 8th day, that everybody should be able to celebrate, and there should not be any sensitivity or negative feelings that you can't be completely involved in this. So he says an unbelievable thing, and I think this is going to tie into another minhag. He says that the minhag that you say yizkor on the shalosh regalim, he says that the people that have parents are supposed to leave. Why? So why are you supposed to leave? The people that have parents are supposed to leave. So he says that because obviously for the people that don't have parents, so it's very sad, but it's comforting. There's a comfort that they have, that they still have a connection, But if the people that would still have parents would stand there together with the ones, it would create a sensitivity. It would create they have parents, I don't have parents, and the ones that actually have parents see the ones who are crying that don't have parents. It would create this negative feeling. It would take away from the simcha of the chag, and therefore the ones that have parents should leave, so they don't get saddened by the ones that are, they don't have the nechama of what the other ones are going through. The other ones shouldn't look at them and feel upset, so therefore that's why they separated. I was thinking there's also another minhag which is probably tied into this as well. There is in some communities a person who is a chatan and kala, the person in the first year of marriage, they don't do yizkor. In the first year of marriage, I'm sorry, I make a mistake, I'm sorry. A person that's the first year of avelut. Yeah. In the first year of avelut, a person in the first year of avelut doesn't do yizkor. And I think it's the same reason, because a person in the first year of yizkor, it's so fresh. It's so that having that experience of having to be at the yizkor it's not the nechama for him. His nechama is the whole year. It would open up all those wounds. It would take away from the simchat hachag. Therefore, that's the same idea. Therefore, they don't stay in for the yizkor on the thing. Some places they do. Some places they don't. The minhag with chazan kala is whether they wear a kittel on the first year. Some people have the minhag for Rosh Hashanah Kippur, or even for the Pesach Seder, that you wear kittel. Now, kittel is supposed to also remind a person about the yom about the yom of death, and so it could be that chatan kala, they don't want to share the simcha, so they don't wear kittel of the Shana Rishona. Okay, so that's the reason that's given by the Gemara, and as to why, and that really fits into the connection because it ties really what the Gemara is understanding. It's tying the laws of Nidah to the laws of Milah. Her 7 days of Milah, the 8th day, but it's really the Gemara's understanding. And we ask the question: the 7 days are hers, the 8th day is his. So we understand why is it connecting it? Because it really could have been done earlier. The only reason it's not being done earlier is because she is a Nidah. So we're pushing, it's because of the fact that she's the Nidah, it's pushing it to the 8th day, because that's the Kulam Yu Smechim. That's understanding the Chazal, that's understanding the Pshat over there. But the reason I want to deal with you is another one that's reported down in the Midrash. I think the Midrash goes from the other direction. See, the Gemara bases on the connection between why the laws of Milah are connected to the laws of Nidah. The Midrash says like this. The Midrash says that there is, we read it on the Yom Tovim, right? The Gemara says that when an animal gives birth, right? It says, what does it say? V'hayatachas imo shivas yamim. It has to be with its mother for 7 days. And over Yom HaShmini Havahala Yeratze. It is only fit to be brought as a korban. An animal cannot be offered as an offering unless it's 8 days old. Says the Gemara, why? Why does it have to be? If you can offer an 8-day offering on the Mizbeach, why can't you offer a 1-day offering or 3-day? It says because you want to make sure it goes through a Shabbat. The Kedusha of Shabbat has to be infused into the animal, and this way the animal's been elevated, and then you can bring it as an offering because it's got the Kedusha of Shabbos permeating through the animal. Says the Midrash, and that's why Bris Milah has to be on the 8th day, because you don't want to do the Milah before the child has experienced the Shabbat. You have to wait for the child to have a infusion of Kedushat Shabbat, then you are ready to do the Bris Milah. And I think this is the Medrash. The Medrash is basing it on that the animals are connected to the beginning of the Parsha Bris Milah. So you have two different reasons. Either it's because why is it comparing the laws of Nida to the laws of Milah, which is the reason that the Gemara gives, or you have the reason that's given by the Medrash that is comparing the animals at the end to the laws of Bris Milah, and that's why you have a bris that is done on the 8th day, because a korban has to be done on the 8th day, because you need to elevate the neshama of the animal. The nefesh behemtit of the animal has to be elevated through Shabbos to be able to then bring it on, and so to the child has to have that elevation in order to do the milah, to get to have that high level of kedusha. So I heard a question from Irish Shiva. It's a wonderful question. He says like this: why do you need to have 8 days? According to the reason that's given by the Gemara, you need 8 because she's still Tameya on day 7. But the reason that's given in the Medrash, that you have to have a Shabbos, 7 days is enough. You don't need 8. Because if the baby is going to be 7 days old, in order for him to be 7 days old, it had to hit the Shabbos. Right. Even if he's born on Shabbos, so the bris will be Friday, but he had a Shabbos. He was born on Shabbos. So you don't need 8 days to hit a Shabbos. The animal also, you could ask the same question. The animal doesn't have to have 8 days to be a Shabbos. If the animal is born on Shabbos, then Friday will be okay. So why do you need to have 8? 7 would suffice.
It's not that Abraham, Hashem told Abraham to do the bread on the 8 days?
Yeah, but we're going with the reasons based on what's the reasons behind it. If the reason is, yeah, of course, the Torah says you have to do 8. But if the Medrash says the reason is because of the Kedusha Shabbos, so then why not tell him to just say 7?
Yeah.
You know, that's complete. So that let's talk about that for a moment. There is the pasuk says in Vayechulu, right? Vayechulu Hashemayim va'aretz means the 6 days are over, and the Shabbos is beginning, right? How does it finish off? Shavas vayinafash. Now, what does that mean? That what does the word vayinafash mean? What does the word vayinafash? God Shabbat rested. Vayinafash is that the soul became has become refreshed, right? Shabbat Vayinafash, right? The beginning of Bereshis. Let's just make sure we have it right.
Like nothing.
It's like a rest, a refreshing, right. So the Gemara says in Shabbos an unbelievable thing that that Reish Lakish says, what does it mean Vayinafash?
Should we stay?
Where is Vayinafash written?
At the end of Rishon.
No, it doesn't say Vayinafash.
No, before, Yom HaShishi.
Of Yom HaShishi, at the end of Yom HaShishi. No, but where does it say the word Vayinafash? Where does it say Vayinafash?
I think it's in Kitisa.
What's that? It's not in Bereshis. It's not in Bereshis. It's in
Kitisa.
yeah. Just find the verse. So I'll just say what Reish Lakish's drasha is. Reish Lakish's drasha is Vay nefesh she'avda. Vayinafash is woe to the soul that gets lost, because on Shabbos, right? Uviyom hashvi Shabbos v'yinafash. That on Shabbos we rest. That's where it is, and we get refreshed. So it says Reish Lakish, Voy Nefesh Avda, is that the Pasuk all tell that we feel already at the beginning of the Shabbat, you start feeling bad because you get this extra neshama that comes in, that elevates us, but it's going to be lost at the end of Shabbat, which is why we do Besamim. Why do we do Besamim by the Havdalah?
To lift the spirit.
Why?
Because the Kedusha live in you.
Because the soul that you got at the beginning of the Shabbat leaves, so now you want to, it's like you're smelling salts, you're resuscitating the person because now we've lost this, Vay Nefesh Avda, they've lost this. So what I wanted to suggest is as follows, is that, it's interesting, I go many times, I don't know by the Ashkenazim they have it, I don't know if it's by Sephardim, they have something called the Shalom Zachar. Do they do that by the Sephardim? Shalom Zachar, the night, the Shabbos before the bris, before the first Shabbos they're born. That night, the night of Shabbos, we make a celebration, right?
We do Shabbat morning.
You do something on Shabbos morning. They do. We do a kiddush or whatever. It's true, but they do something that Friday night. Why are we doing something Friday night? So I think the pshat is like this. The pshat is that the infusion of that kedusha comes with that extra nefesh that we lose, happens at the beginning of the Shabbat. That's where you get that extra elevation at the beginning of a Shabbat. Therefore, in order to ensure that the baby gets the elevation of Shabbos, it can't be 7 days, or the korban, because 7 days the baby could be born on Shabbat and not had the beginning of the Shabbat. The only way to ensure that the baby is going to get the Kedusha of Shabbat in its completion, like I said, the full, is if it's from an 8 day. 8 day ensures that you're going to have a complete Shabbat before you do the Brit Milah, before you have the baby brought on the animal brought on the Mizbeach. So therefore, the only way to ensure it is 8 days. 7 days will hit a Shabbat, but it won't hit necessarily a complete Shabbat, because the complete Shabbat, that you have that elevation, that starts with the Neshama Yetera entering at the beginning of the Shabbat, which I think could be a reason why by the Ashkenazim we do the Shalom Zachar. The Shalom Zachar is because that's when the baby, you're celebrating that the baby now is getting the Kedusha necessary to be able to do the bris that's going to come on later on during the week. So basically, there are 2 points here that we want to emphasize, and both reasons. According to the reason that's given in the Gemara that you need 8 days, so that everybody should be happy, because the relations can't resume until after. So you see just the tremendous sensitivity that the Torah is having. You have to be so sensitive, and that everybody should be happy, and try and make sure that the people aren't going to be bothered or upset during when they're supposed to be sensitive, which according to the Slabat Rosh Shiva, Moshe Mordechai is why you have to have the people that have parents leave for Yizkor, and why a person in the first year doesn't do it. And you have the reason that is given by the Medrash is that you want to, like the connection between the 8 days that you have to wait until 8 days to have a korban brought. That's why we have to have bris milah, and the 8th day, you said should have an infusion of Shabbos, and the only way to ensure a whole Shabbos is if you have the beginning of Shabbos. That's why, by the way, there is a special halacha of Tosefes Shabbos. You have to add to the Shabbos. Now the truth is you add in the beginning and you add in the end. But I think it's very important, especially in the beginning. That's why we do candle lighting 18 minutes early. We start because you want to go into the Shabbos in a way that you're ready for the Shabbos. Most of us, unfortunately, you just got out of the shower and you're looking and you're running. It's so important. At the beginning of the Shabbos, to start the Shabbos right is a very, very important thing. That's why many times we'll see that somebody is sick, Rachman al-Islan, or whatever, they say, except another few minutes onto Shabbat. Yeah. Because it's such an important thing to go into the Shabbat with the right mindset, with the right feeling, and not be rushed in the time when you're supposed to have this tremendous Tosefet Kedusha. The additional Kedusha should not go in. That's the... Anyway, everyone have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
But there's a